Howdy y'all, today we are going to be looking at some battle line units for Seraphon. We're going to see about the Saurus Knights. How do they stack up? What's their damage look like? And are they usable in our army now? If you're like me, you had some Saurus Knights because you probably bought a start collecting box at some point in the last few years. But they didn't really see much use on the table. They were one unit I was really hoping was going to get updated because if you look at this model, it's not the best model we have in our lineup. Even the cold ones, the dinosaurs they're riding look pretty derpy compared to other cold ones. If you look at the elf cold ones, they look awesome. They look exactly like what you'd expect a raptor to look like. These ones, they're stuck a little in the past, unfortunately. And the Saurus Riders are kind of got derpy expressions on their face and look like they've never had leg day in their life. So really wish they had updated the models, but they didn't. So we did get some updated rules though, and I think we can make some decent use out of the Saurus Knights in our list now. So let's look and see what they do here. We do have an 8-inch move on these Saurus Knights. They got 2 wounds each, and they're going to be in a unit of 5 as your minimum unit. And they have a 4-up save. So the save actually got a little bit better. They'd have lost the ability to ignore 1 rend, but I'll take a better save any day of the week than the 5-up save ignoring 1 rend, because this is better in all situations. So I do like that change. That's a good change. They have 8 bravery, which is fine. When in a unit of 5, you're going to have to lose a couple before you even worry about the bravery, so that's fine. We have 2 different options for our weapons. We got the blades and the war spears. The blades have a little bit better hit, but the way you use knights, I don't think it's going to be that relevant. I think you'll pretty much always take war spears, because if you look down at the abilities, they add 1 to the damage characteristics of the war spears when they make a charge move. So unfortunately, we don't get rend. A lot of the cavalry units, when they charge, they get -2 rend, 2 damage. That's like standard across all cavalry in AOS almost. You see any of that type of cavalry, when they charge, they get a high rend on their spears and they get better damage. Unfortunately, we get the better damage, we just don't get any rend, which really kind of hurts these guys because nothing they have has rend. So we make up that with just quantity of hits. So I'm pretty much always going to load mine out with war spears. So they have 2 attacks on those, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage, which can be bumped up to 2 if they charge. But they also have the jaws of both the rider, the powerful jaws, and the snapping jaws, which are from the mount. So we have 2 different profiles there. The powerful jaws is 1, it's kind of hitting on 5s and 4s, not very good profile. The snapping jaws is actually pretty good. It hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, not bad. Still no rend, 1 damage. But the important part is that we have 3 weapon profiles, and so we're able to buff those up in different ways with our army, especially the jaws, and we'll get to that here in a minute. We do have 1 unit is the alpha. You get +1 attacks to either the blade or the war spear, so that's good. 1 and 5 models can be the icon bearer, can have the banner, and that gives you your subtract 1 to bravery for enemy units within 6. And that's basically the same for every unit in Seraphon. If they have a banner, it's going to be -1 to bravery. Now, you can't stack it, unfortunately, but don't forget that, because if you're making somebody roll some bravery tests, that'll be useful. Your war drummer, 1 in every 5 models in this unit can be a war drummer. You can reroll charge rolls for units that include any war drummers. So this is basically our built-in command point of rerolling charges. It's not bad. They used to have an ability where you could just double your move, and so it'd make these guys a lot faster. I kind of like this one better because you don't have to spend a command point to reroll those charges. It doesn't let you do some tricks turn 1, moving these guys a lot further, but that's fine. You get to reroll some charges here. So that's our war scroll. On first glance, it's not that good. I've got a breakdown of what our damage profile looks like. So this is a unit of 5. When we're putting out just the war scroll, what does it look like, our damage? And I wanted to compare swords versus spears. And so swords did come out a little bit better. Against a 4-up save is your average save there. you're doing 4 damage from a unit of 5, which is not very good. And then for spears, you're doing an average of 3, 3 3/4. So you're about half a point of damage difference. You'll definitely make that up, though, with the spears when you charge. And you definitely want to be charging these guys. And we'll look at why these guys are only going to be good on the charge and pretty much nothing else. So you're going to definitely want to outfit them with spears to take advantage of the bonuses they get from our factions, sub-factions, and stuff like that. So we'll look at that here in a minute. Swords statistically is slightly better, but once you factor in the extra damage, you're going to want to go with spears. So how do we play Knights? That damage is obviously pretty terrible. It is a battle line, though, so sometimes battle line is just bad. But in today's AOS, your battle line's got to do damage at some point, or it's got to tank somebody, and these guys aren't going to tank anybody. So let's look at the 2 battalions that you can fit Knights into. Here's our 2 battalions. One is the Firelance Temple Host, and this is going to be the one that's in Coalesced, and the other is Firelance Star Host, which is what's going to be in Starborn. In the Temple Host, that's 1 Scar Veteran, and it can either be the one on Cold 1 or on Carnosaur. And then 3 units of Knights. And this is going to add 3 to the run and charge rolls for units from this battalion that are wholly within 18 of the Scar Veteran from the same battalion. So you're going to have your Scar Veteran. He's going to be hugging these guys because he's got to give them buffs. And so you're usually going to be within wholly within 18 of your Knights anyway. And +3 to run and charge, that's pretty good. There's not a lot of stuff that gives +3 to charge, especially when you're re-rolling charges natively on their warscroll. So these guys can make some pretty good charges in that battalion. Firelance Star Host is going to be in Coalesce, or in Starborn. And unmodified wound rolls for the attacks made in this Celestite weapon by a unit from this battalion is 6. That inflicts 1 mortal wound in the target in addition to any normal damage. Now, here's the frustrating thing. The Temple Host, the one in Coalesced, to me, belongs in Starborn. In Starborn, you can teleport things. You've got fast movement. This is the faction where I expect to see the speed. If I could fit Temple Host with that +3 to run and charge and could teleport a big unit of Knights, that +3 to run and charge is all of a sudden quite valuable. On the other hand, in Coalesce, we get extra jaw attacks. They have 2 jaw profiles. Remember from this up here. So we got 2 different jaw profiles. So we're adding 2 extra attacks per unit. And so that's where I would really want to see that unmodified wound roll causes a mortal. And so in my opinion, these 2 battalions should be flipped. I think the mortal wound should be in Coalesced and the speed should be in Starborn. Unfortunately, they're not. And I don't think you're going to get a lot of use out of these battalions because to fit that Temple Host, it's 100. Both of them are 160 points. They're the same. But these guys aren't making an alpha charge in Coalesce. You can move them 8, and then you get a +3 to run and charge. That doesn't matter. You're still not going to get it's still going to be a long charge to do like an alpha strike. So I don't see that charge as being all that beneficial in Coalesce. There'll be times where you need the +3, and it'll come in handy if you're running this. I mean, don't get me wrong, +3 to charge is nice. +3 to run is nice if you're trying to get in position turn 1. But it's not quite as strong as I would hope. In Firelance Star Host, if you're taking this in Starborn, let's be honest, you're not going to take Knights in Starborn because you've just dropped 2 attacks that you would have in Coalesced for each model. And so you've all of a sudden lost a whole lot of attacks, and now those, you've got to get through the hits first, and now your wound rolls, you're not going to be doing too much damage. So I don't think you'll ever see this battalion run in Starborn, where you'll probably see this run every once in a while in Coalesce. I think it has some use in Coalesce, but the one in Starborn, I don't think you'll ever see it run. So let's see what, if we're running this in this battalion, and we're running it in Coalesced, we're going to want to see Knights in Kotal's Claw, because that's where we're going to get extra buffs on the charge. And so let's look at this. I've got a couple things typed up here. So 5 Saurus Knights with spears. So we're in Coalesced, so they get +1 to their jaw attacks, and they have 2 jaw profiles. And Kotal's Claw, we're getting +1 to hit on the charge. So now those to hit numbers are better. And on the charge, we're getting +1 to damage from our spears. So now against the 4-up, we've gone from just under 4 damage here to up over 8. So we've more than doubled our damage here just by putting them in Coalesced, in Kotal's Claw, and then charging them. So all of a sudden our damage, we're doubling the damage of these guys, putting them into this battalion and this, or not the battalion, in this sub-faction. That's not even part of the battalion. That's just in the sub-faction. So I think that is that's where they belong. You're going to put them in Coalesced, in Kotal's Claw. What about our buffs? What buffs are we going to do? Well, you're not going to have cavalry without a Carnosaur. You've got to have a Carnosaur in this list. And so let's look at what the Carnosaurs do for our knights. We have the Scarvet either on Carnosaur or on Cold One, and his command point is 6 to hit equal an extra hit, which is valuable for these guys because they have a lot of attacks. And so you're fishing for those 6s to get extra attacks, and really you're just looking for that quantity over quality. These guys are all about quantity, get as many hits as possible. The Old Blood on Carnosaur, he adds a +1 to the hit, and so his command point's +1 to hit. So I think that's useful. That's really useful. I don't think it's quite as useful on the Saurus Knights, because if you look at our profile here, our Snapping Jaws, which is going to have 3 attacks, is already on a 3 to hit. So we're getting +1 from our charge, so it's already at a 2 up to hit. And so that the Old Blood on Carnosaur, he's going to basically be taking half of your attacks and giving you no buff to those. So I think that may be one of the reasons why you actually get a little bit more mileage out of the Scarvet on Carnosaur, or Old One, or Cold One. And he's 50 points cheaper, so that's an extra command point. So I think for the Knights, you're going to want to run that Scar Veteran on either Carnosaur or on Cold One. And it fits into the battalion, so that's kind of nice that it is kind of designed to go with those Saurus Knights, and it will help you out a little bit. Based on the math, it will do a little bit extra damage. It's kind of negligible here, but as we start adding some more stuff onto it, it'll help out a little bit more as we're exploding those hits. So let's we're going to take the Scarvet on Carnosaur. That's what I'm going to run it with, is with the Carnosaur, so that my hero doesn't get sniped turn 1 or something. And let's see what else we can do to it. So I think I'm also going to add in a Skink Star Priest. So we've got 5 Saurus Knights with spears in Coalesce, so we get the +1 to both of the jaw attacks. Kotal's Claw, +1 to hit on the charge, +1 to damage on the charge for the spears. And then we're exploding 6s for an extra hit. And the Skink Star Priest, he's going to point his staff at these guys. And on the 6s to wound, they'll do an extra mortal. And so now we're having 6s on both profiles. The hits and the wound are going to explode to give us extra stuff. And now, with those things, we're all of a sudden up to 15.9 damage. Nice. So the mortals actually helps quite a bit. We're going up 5 damage. We're increasing damage by 150% there by going with that Skink Star Priest. And he's always good on a target that you're going to do lots of attacks with, because you need to get through the hit gate to get to the wounds. And so that's a good target for that there. So let's see, what was this next one? That's a duplicated slide. Here we go. So this one here, we're going to add another command point. So we're going to add reroll 1s to hit. And so I think this is, once you're getting down to hits that are 2 up, 3 up, adding that rerolling 1s to hit really helps. Kind of get as many hits through as you can. And now we're up to 18 damage versus a 4-up save. So it's really not that big of an investment. Really, you're spending 2 command points, 1 for the 6s to hit, 1 for the reroll 1s. And so that's just 2 command points in an army that we're gonna be swimming with command points. It's not too bad at all. The Skink Star Priest, he's just pointing his staff, so you don't have to worry about that. That's an automatic buff. So now we've got 5 Saurus Knights that are hitting, and with some slight buffs, we're getting them up to 18 damage. To me, that means they're outperforming their points cost at that point, doing 18 damage. I'm probably going to run as many as I can in groups of 10. I've played a couple games with them in groups of 10, and I can usually get most of them in to a target, and it'll give them a little bit more punch, it'll give them a little bit more staying power, and it's easier to apply your buffs to a big unit than trying to spread it out over small units of 5. So, if I'm playing it in a unit of 10 and spending 2 command points and getting in the charge, they're going to do almost 40 damage. I like that. That's against a 4-up save. So what does a list look like? Here's what a sample list that I'm putting together. And we're running it in Kotal's Claw under Coalesced. And we are doing 2 Scar Veterans. One, I'm making my General with Dominant Predator and Eviscerating Blade. And those are the ones that you have to take for Kotal's Claw there. My other artifact, I'm going to put on Aether Quartz Brooch onto my other Scar Veteran. And I'm just going to do that because I'm going to try to keep this command point train rolling, because I know I've got a command point hungry army in these guys, so I'm going to try to keep that up. I'm going to take 2 Star Priests, one with Hand of Glory, which is basically, your reroll hit rolls of 1, so I don't have to spend that command point out if I don't want to, and then Tide of Serpents to help me clear out some units if I need to. Lord Croak is pretty much an auto-include in Seraphon, as he's our command point generator right there. And I'll take Stellar Tempest to help deal with some hordes as needed. I'm taking 10 Saurus Knights, and then 5 Saurus Knights. That's in my Firelance Battalion. So I've got 25 Knights there. And I'm basically going to try to hit with 10 Knights and then have my next unit hit as a counter punch. I'm gonna put a Scar Veteran and a Star Priest on each blob of Knights, those 10, and then leave the other one to capture objectives or do what they need to. And this still leaves us with 360 points, so you've still got plenty of room to add what you want. You want a Bastiladon, some endless spells. I'd probably put in maybe a Man, I love Bastiladons. I'd probably put in a Bastiladon, maybe a unit of guard to help out Croak, to give him a few more points, or spend those points on some endless spells. Purple Sun and Gymnids come to mind. You can't go wrong with bound endless spells for Seraphon. But in this list, I'm looking to generate as many command points as I can, because your Scar Veteran, he's going to be cycling through whenever your General spends it. He'll get one back on a 4-up. Your other Scar Veteran, when anybody spends a command point on a 5-up, he'll get them back. Your 2 Skink Star Priests, they have 5-up extra command points at the beginning of the turn. And then Croak has his 3 chances at it on a 4-up. So you have the ability to get quite a few command points every turn, and you'll be spending those as much as you can, because you've got some good command points to spend, some good command traits. So I'd be using those. There is a problem though. So we've seen they can do quite a bit of damage. Just 5 of them will put out 18 damage. So on 10, you're looking for that, about 40 damage coming out of those guys. Unfortunately, there's a couple of armies in the meta right now that just laugh at your no-rend Knights. So if you were to go up against OBR and Mortek Guard, who are going to re-roll all their saves, or say Sequitors, or even like Staunch Defender Liberators, which, throw back to a few years ago, you're going to run into some serious problems. So if you have an enemy that has those re-roll to saves and they've got a low armor, you're going to be in trouble. In fact, I ran the numbers here versus OBR. So against OBR, so you're playing Petrifex, 3-up, re-rolling, you're going to do 2 damage. So this is, I didn't put the Skink Star Priest in here. I wanted to show what it would be like without the Mortals. With the Mortals, I think that's the reason that I've got to include that Skink Star Priest, because those Mortals will be indispensable versus something like OBR, where you're not going to get anything through unless you're dealing some Mortals. And so if you can put that Skink Star Priest on there and crank out a little bit more. This isn't versus rendable or rerollable, but you will still get some mortals coming through on just a mass quantity of attacks. But it's still not going to be enough. I think the numbers was about 7 or 8 damage versus a 3-up, which is good. I mean, it's the mortals help. It's definitely better than 2 right here. But that's going to be our hard counter if you're playing a Knights heavy list. So come prepared to deal with them other ways, like Purple Sun, maybe with some shooting. If you can add some shooting into this list, big block of skinks, and throw another Skink Priest in there, and you can have a little blob that's going to do your fast attack and shooting. That maybe you can clear out some OBR that way. But you are gonna struggle against something that has a low armor save, because none of these attacks have rend, and there's really not any way to get rend. You can take a Skink Star Seer and reduce somebody else's save by 1, but that takes quite a bit of setup on his part, because he's got to get that spell off, and then you got to get your guys into him. So it is a fun unit. I think they got a little bit better now. Before they were pretty. I don't even know. I wasn't playing with them at all. In fact, I sold off all the ones I had, and now I'm back to the drawing board. I'm back to I've got some primed and ready to be built. But I've played a couple games with them. I'm hoping to have a tournament, a battle report on a Knights list here in a little while. So I've played a couple games against my son's Liberators. So he does Staunch Defender Liberators, and I think I crushed all 10 of them into him, and I did 2 damage. So that was rough. So that high armor will kill us. But there's a starting list idea for some Knights. Let me know what you think. How are you playing your Knights? I think I might, in a list that I might finalize here, I might have like one contingent of 10 Knights with a Carnosaur to do some work, boxing people down, let the Carnosaur get into action. I don't think I'm going to build a Knight-centric list. As much fun as it is to just see a bunch of lizards riding lizards charging into battle. So let me know what y'all think. What are y'all running? How are you running your Knights? Are you running your Knights? All right, y'all have a good one.